Have you heard about Microsoft for Startup Founders Hub, a platform to help all founders to grow and scale their startups? You can join Founders Hub at any of the 4 levels. For founders who are refining their ideas, you can join at level 1, the ideate stage. Founders with a strong conviction of their solution join at level 2, the develop stage, to build their minimum viable product. For founders with a working product and want to add new features while gaining customer traction, you can join at level 3, the grow stage. And lastly, for founders with a product in market and want to focus on the sales acceleration, you can join at level 4, the scale stage. Founders get up to $150,000 worth of Azure credits and free OpenAI credits to include LLMs and generative AI capabilities in your product. You also get access to enterprise developer tools such as GitHub and Visual Studio, and productivity tools such as M365, Dynamics 365, and Power Platform to run your businesses. Lastly, you get one-on-one technical consultations with Microsoft experts to help you as you build out your product. Apply today at aka.ms/foundershub.
Hello everyone and welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us today for this live stream event. My name is Alexia and I am the program manager of the Microsoft Reactor Toronto. I will be sharing session resources with you in the chat, but before we begin, I'd like to quickly review 2 items: our code of conduct and event guidelines. First, please take a moment to review our code of conduct. Microsoft Reactor seeks to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. And secondly, our event guidelines. This session is being recorded and will be available on demand through the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel in about 24 to 48 hours. I will be sharing the link in the chat for our channel. And if you have not been on a live stream through YouTube before, please note that you must create an account on YouTube in order to have access and interact in the chat. You can set that up now. And if you're unable to use the chat but have questions, feel free to reach out to us through social media or on our website. Which brings us to today's session. Today is the Tech Odyssey episode 7. Apologies for the mixed banner over here, but I'm going to bring in our host, Luka, and our speaker, Julius, for today. Hello, both. How are we doing today?
Hi, Alexia.
Fantastic. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining. And yeah, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of Tech Odyssey. We are very proud that we made it this far. In the beginning, I didn't think we'd go up to 7 episodes, to be honest. I didn't know if we can get that many guests, but we're here. My name is Luka. I'm the CEO and co-founder of doTERRA Health. doTERRA Health is a AI platform that is revolutionizing the way that primary care is being delivered by creating a new infrastructure for family physicians. But as every Thursday, today we are not here to talk about doTERRA Health. Today we are here to talk about Tech Odyssey, this new initiative in partnership with, as part of a bigger initiative with Microsoft for Startups and Microsoft Reactor to create this series of episodes, workshops from founders to founders. And our goal with this podcast is to challenge the boundaries of knowledge and to learn about these new leaders, entrepreneurs, tech people, or even today, healthcare, longevity, to learn about their life and what makes them leaders. I want to thank Niagara Falls Innovation Hub for providing us with a studio. It's an amazing incubator in Niagara Falls, the Niagara region. Please, all the startups that are in the region, check it out. I want to thank Valen Entertainment for making this happen. I really appreciate all of you guys' work. And of course, for this beautiful t-shirt, Tag and V, Truth Designs. Thank you so much for making this happen. Today, as part of our episode, we have Julius Ritter. Julius, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me once more. I'm excited.
Julius, you are a longevity founder of Basis Health and Longevity Castle, as well as of the largest AI incubator for students on the West Coast, AI Entrepreneurs at Berkeley. You lead also chapter.to in San Francisco. Julius, for today, as the first question, I told you that we base everything as tradition of our start for the podcast. It's to base everything on the T-shirt, and this T-shirt is a Korean painting that talks about the 10 symbols of longevity, as they call it. They mention the sun, the clouds, the pine tree, the water, the moon, etc., etc. You are one of the biggest, at least what I've seen in social media, one of the biggest supporters of this new trend that is happening with longevity, health span, anti-aging. What is the situation right now? Can you explain it to people? Because not everyone knows about longevity. And can you explain also your initiative with it?
Yeah, 100%. I think there are a couple of perspectives to take. First of all, I think what we've seen is in terms of macro trends that 2022 and 2023 has been kind of the years of AI, and 2024 seems to be the year of longevity. Few reasons for that, which are which are mainly spearheaded by the common influences with people like Andrew Huberman, Peter Attia, and Brian Johnson gaining more and more traction. So it's finally reaching mass media and mass market. And then another interesting aspect about longevity is the definition itself, right? And I think I've seen everything and heard everything from longevity just means taking care of your health to longevity being all about lifespan extension, gene treatments, cryo, and other forms of more sci-fi related interventions, right? So I think the main question is, what does longevity mean for you? For me, it's mostly about, at least at the moment, health span extension, meaning of like 100 years that you live, how long can you push the period in your life where you start to suffer from illness, disease, or other unpleasant states, and enjoy like a life with a body that is completely healthy, right? So I think this is kind of the main question, and honestly, it's a question everyone should answer for themselves. Then, in terms of like the third perspective I want to take is in terms of the software world, where we've seen, especially recently, a couple of open source longevity tools or closed source longevity apps that aggregate your health data. And we can talk about the entire consumer space here and what I think about it as well. And there are like many, many more perspectives to take from local hubs, for example, how San Francisco and Los Angeles are spearheading that from different perspectives, and much, much more. But yeah, curious to take the conversation in whatever direction you'd like it to go.
Of course, of course. Why do you think, especially, we'll talk a little bit after about it. I don't want to ask too many questions right now, but why do you think SF, it's San Francisco is being one of the hubs of longevity? Because usually, as far I have my science background, right? Usually when it comes to science revolution and stuff or science trends, usually San Diego and Boston are the cities in US which get the first they have the wet labs and they do the first research and they do the first innovation. But as San Francisco is mostly purely tech, why do you think, at least, that what have you seen with in San Francisco to be the the main hub for the longevity revolution, if you want to call it like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think two things. First of all, few people in the world pretend to be as busy as founders in the Silicon Valley, and busyness or focus on productivity means extending the time on planet Earth that they can use to build generational companies. So the perspective is, I think, the same for almost every founder. How can I create the most value for mankind, and how can I create the most value for myself? Thus, how can I extend my life the longest, the most, to stay on this planet? And how can I do so with science, right? Everyone is pushing boundaries in all directions. So it only makes sense to also push scientific boundaries and social boundaries and break some of the taboos taboo being talking about extending life in the first place. That's one aspect. Another aspect is the allocation of money, that many tech billionaires get older and older, and of course don't want to die yet, so they're spending a lot of money and giving out grants to help out. It's also like for philanthropy causes, right? Many of the tech billionaires are philanthropists. It's a geography standpoint. Like we have the Buck Institute in Novato, just north of San Francisco, and they play a huge role in pushing longevity studies forward, right? So I think there are a couple of different reasons for this.
Yeah, I think it like every other thing in history of innovation, not only in technology, San Francisco is still proving to be the number one. And I remind myself of the tweets from, especially from the Y Combinator people like Paul Graham and Gary Tan, that if you want to build a good company, no matter what industry, you have to come to Silicon Valley and build it in Palo Alto, right? Uh, Julius, when I was doing some research about you, I saw that you are originally from Germany, right? You did actually lived some of your life there. How was that transition, in US, which like I'm from Europe myself, and it's so different, the
Yeah,
mentality and the fear of fear of building here in North America. I'm in Canada, but in North America it's almost non-existent, right?
yeah.
Was that transition hard, and how was being an immigrant entrepreneur in US works? How does it work?
I think the transition was invigorating. I think it's so easy and like to put yourself on a rather linear career path in Germany, on a safe path. Whereas here in US, especially as an immigrant, there is no fallback option, meaning no health or unemployment, insurance, which forces you to take larger risks. And I found that to be quite exciting. Um, at the same time, one of the main drawbacks I saw is how unregulated or badly regulated the entire food chain is, and that I, coming here, have had quickly gained a few pounds. Although I did the same amount of work, like the amount of workouts, and thought I would eat the same, but the food quality is just much lower. So that was maybe the most striking transition. So that's, yeah, A, invigorating; B, bad food quality; C, I want to highlight the aspect of being an immigrant. I feel like the main and the most interesting founders I've met so far were immigrants, and almost all of them have some sort of interesting immigration story where they fought against, the system. And having been through the immigration process myself, having gotten my O1 visa, I know firsthand how daunting it can be, and like living on a timeline, not knowing, if it makes sense to acquire even a tennis racket here in the US, or if you're going to get kicked out after a few months. Which is why I've helped like lots of founders on their journey as well.
Yeah, I was just again on Twitter. I was seeing a guy actually who just his startup just got accepted into the winter batch of Y Combinator,
Yeah,
and uh, they didn't accept his visa because he was not considered uh, I don't extraordinary
yeah,
alien. I think it's called the actual phrase, the actual definition. But it's insane. I don't know. I think US has to do better in that sense with attracting this young the talents from countries like even Germany, right, or Albania, where I'm from, or Italy. Like there's so much talent, and all of them want to go
yeah,
to Silicon Valley, especially, right? So
yeah,
I
and
think I think it's a hard journey for sure.
yeah, and I wrote about this, right? I think getting this visa for extraordinary abilities, the so-called O1, is mainly a question of tenacity, resilience, preparation, and storytelling, and less so about how extraordinary you are. Um, and there's like that, like there's clearly like a knowledge gap, an information gap, and information asymmetry, because it's actually not that hard if you work with the right lawyer and if you prepare for long enough. Um, but it's like daunting. Like people call this visa the Einstein visa. So obviously people are like kind of intimidated and might not deem it to be an option. And yeah, if they, of course, then don't get accepted with the visa, but are in YC, one of the most prestigious accelerators in the world, it's kind of ridiculous, right? It's almost as if you were tested by the US officials to what extent you actually want to be here, rather than anything else. I think it's really, really ridiculous.
It is. It is. It's not a total fair system, but I think it will change. Think it will change. The push right now from a lot of immigrant entrepreneurs, and here in Canada it's a little bit easier, but also here it has its own problems and its own uh, you know uh, thresholds that you have to push. But the more immigrant entrepreneurs to prove that we can be successful, the better it is for the whole system, especially the US. Julius, when I talked about you know longevity, AI, I have a practical perspective on things, and I have a more academic perspective, right? When we talk about longevity, I see it from a scientific perspective too. But I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there is also a philosophical aspect in it, right? The concept of immortality or living forever has been with us since the early ages of humanity. I, I remind myself of like the philosopher's stone, for example, which is a symbol in ancient Greece. But in order to live forever, or to increase the health span, you need to have some values and things that you like to do, right? So, Julius, for you yourself, what do you value most in life?
Oh, that was a smooth transition towards that question. What do I value most in life? Um, what I would reformulate it to like, what are the axioms I try to live by,
Sure.
and the values that I personally deem to be most important. Uh, I think they are, and they have become more and more honesty and authenticity. I think, especially here in the Bay Area, I see people lying to themselves and to others about the status and success of their company a lot. And I think it's kind of delusional, and you don't make yourself a happier person by lying. The third is a focus on health, and to kind of also include the aspect of longevity. I think that even if we reach this concept of longevity escape velocity, meaning that for every more year that we live, science will progress in a way which would allow us to extend our lifespan by more than 1 year. Even if we get to that point, then we want to have our bodies in the most perfect and healthy conditions by the time we get there. So I think the biggest status symbol you have is health and self-care. And I think the fourth one for me is the focus on family. I live away from my family at the moment, but make sure to call them all the time. And the last one, the fifth one, is probably helping young talent. I think it's quite an uncommon value, but something I'm quite passionate about with the incubation and entrepreneurship societies I've built. I just find it fascinating to help shift the trajectory of a young entrepreneur by just like 1 or 2% in the very beginning. And I think these slight changes, these environmental changes, can help them like start on a completely different life trajectory. And these changes compound over time, making them great entrepreneurs, right? And this just leads to bias to action, great companies and initiatives being created. So I think those are the values I try to live by the most. So there was authenticity, honesty, health, family, and early talent incubation / fostering a bias
Giving
to
back.
action for entrepreneurship. Yeah.
So you touched a little bit before, but what is actually the Basis Health, your company, and Longevity Castle, and what inspired you to build it?
Yeah. Basis Health is, for context, a company that helps you put your diet on autopilot. So what we do is we deliver the healthiest food inspired by the Mediterranean diet, inspired by the Blueprint diet from Brian Johnson, and then designed and refined by Steve Jobs' private chef, delivered to your doorstep, basically, right? We not only do that, we also do private exclusive longevity dinners here in the Bay Area and larger conferences with healthy food. Just 2 days ago, we did an AI summit in Stanford. And I think the inspiration here came in a couple of ways. Through personal experience, I had been sick of the food in the US. I had also started a health club before, so I was passionate about working out and eating healthy for a large part of my life. And then B, just like the opportunity and an evolving business opportunity to do something in food and longevity, which hadn't been there before. And to provide some context, Brian Johnson, who had inspired us initially, had open sourced his recipes, right? And for some context, Brian Johnson is a tech millionaire, if not billionaire, investing more than $2 million a year into slowing down his biological age and becoming the first human to live forever, which is a rabbit hole he truly lives and believes in. And I deeply respect that, just because like you have to be crazy to be visionary, right? And this diet that he had, we then looked at it and we're like, wow, this is something people in San Francisco would love, and we loved it ourselves. It was high in fiber, vitamins, super fresh, super healthy, and all organic. So we started to work with Steve Jobs' chef, and basically over the course of a weekend, cooked the meals in our own kitchen at home, started delivering them to friends for free, and got lots of attention on LinkedIn specifically for it. And people started posting about it and called it like an overnight success. And I think reason for that was also partly because we started in San Francisco and Melbourne and Sydney at the same time.
Oh wow!
Because basically
Okay, interesting.
our former co-founding team was located in these 3 cities simultaneously, which just made it like a really good weekend launch, so to speak. And I think to this day, this is probably our biggest success, like just how fast we acted. I'm being reminded myself of the founders of DoorDash who, during MBA lectures at Stanford, would sneak out and deliver food themselves, from local restaurants in Palo Alto. So that is, it felt similar. It felt very similar and quite invigorating. Yeah.
Interesting. So right now, this is an amazing idea, an amazing initiative that you guys did, because even for me, it's so hard uh, in Canada, in Toronto, in Niagara Falls. It's so hard to live and to be fully productive without good food.
Yeah.
And as you said before, I understood the meaning of healthy products the moment that I came here in North America. I didn't know what was the meaning of it. Uh, Back home we had amazing, very organic foods. When I came here, it was much worse, and
Yeah.
it affected my health very badly. I increased a lot of weight. So when right now, are you offering these diets only in San Francisco, or are you planning to expand too? Like, we'd love to have your product even in Canada at some point.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be definitely an interesting dream for us as well. I think it's a good question, right? We did the following. So we were delivering in Melbourne and Sydney. We have paused operations there at the moment. Reason being that unit economics in food are really hard to get right when you're using like high quality ingredients like we did. Things like macadamia nuts, fresh organic, pomegranate juice, very high quality dark cacao, and chocolate is very, very hard to source and quite expensive.
Yeah,
But
of
in the US, we see that people have a higher willingness to pay. It's especially in New York and the Bay Area. And we do want to expand that and bring that to other health conscious hubs of the world, potentially in a franchise model. Like we get requests from London and India to franchise it. I think it's all basically a function of not expanding too fast. We did a trial run in New York, a few weeks back, like 3 weeks, where we delivered, and we again managed to be profitable during that period already, during the trial run, but realized like the extra operational burden is just really, really, really high in the beginning. And but we'd be open to commencing there again. Because I think especially in these hubs, the target groups are really interesting and so different, right? In SF, it's all about performance enhancement, not having to worry about food, just knowing you have something healthy in your fridge. In the tech sector, and then New York, for example, is quite different, right? The main target group here is investment bankers who also don't have a lot of time, but even a higher willingness to pay. There's the potential to collaborate with model agencies, which I think is really interesting. But it's different. Like every city kind of has its own micro trends that you have to be aware of, both for go-to-market, product positioning, and the target group that you look for.
Interesting. Yeah, that's quite interesting actually. But before getting into longevity and more in the healthcare or health health wellness industry, you have a background in AI yourself, if I'm correct, right? And you started the AI entrepreneurs at Berkeley. Why did you do that? What was the first idea behind that? That what was your goal? Because I'm sure that it surpassed your your initial idea or initial goals, because it became one of the biggest ones in West Coast, right? Or the biggest one for students on the West Coast.
Yeah, that's right. And perhaps the biggest one in the US for students at the moment in several ways, like in terms of the sheer number and magnitude of events we organize regularly and the applications we receive, etc. So, but yeah, I'd love to give you the rundown. And I think it is quite interesting because I came to UC Berkeley and I had this kind of 10,000 feet view on the entrepreneurship ecosystem. And I remember the head of entrepreneurship who just became, who just started leading the entire campus, to present the slide deck of incubators and accelerators at UC Berkeley. And there were like 50 different institutions, clubs, and resources that students could go to. And none of them was really catering towards AI. And at the same time, I saw this need for students to have a single place to go to build a company. So I thought,
what years are we talking here? 2019, 2020,
late
maybe?
2022. This was late 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's recent.
It's really recent, right? And so I spent a couple of months looking at the ecosystem. Was like, okay, how can I foster innovation, community building, entrepreneurship, but also safe AI, all like in one central hub. I initially thought it would be best to bring together MBA students with the PhD students from the AI labs. Turns out they weren't really interested in working together. So what we did instead is I recruited a team of nine of the most amazing technical students on campus, of which 7 of them are still doing it. So like very high retention rate in terms of the organizing team. And we've grown it further and further. And we looked at, okay, so the target group that's interested is actually undergrad and grad students who want to start startups themselves and are technical already. And we set up these weekly hacking sessions at first. So it was at first like more of a community where we brought in guest speakers, VCs, lawyers, professors, and gave students the chance to whiteboard together, share their ideas, etc. And this was right when GPT-4 was hitting and all the AI hackathons really started to get traction, which is why all the VCs were interested in working with us as well. And we built a couple of amazing relationships with Pair VC, with Unusual, Antler, Y Combinator, and many, many more. So I think we just got partly lucky and partly executed really well, in a sense of just looking for, almost doing customer discovery, like who is the person on campus that needs us the most, and turns out to be highly ambitious technical founders who want to meet other highly ambitious founders. Yeah, and then ever since we're now in the third cohort that we're running, and about to kick off the fourth in fall. And I think just like at our last demo day, basically the sponsoring VC, I think, wanted to write one check for the winning team, as a first real prize demo day, and ended up writing 3 or 4 on the spot because they were so impressed with the quality of the teams. I think this just showcases what Berkeley students are capable of.
Is this only for Berkeley students? So only Berkeley students can apply, right?
Yeah. At least one member of the team has to be a Berkeley student, or perhaps a very recent alumni. We also got requests from other universities if we can kind of franchise
That's
that
my other
system.
question.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, we're open to it. If someone wants to start AI entrepreneurs at Harvard, that's interesting, but I think people underestimate the amount of operational work that goes into it, right? So
Of course.
it's hard.
It's a full-time job. It's a full-time job for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting what you guys are doing and what you're building. Julius said, it started from all very interesting observations, right? And that's when geniality comes in, when you see the details and you make a change on those details, right? So I kudos to you for all the things that you have built until now. Uh, I wanted to ask you a little bit more, you know, general topic, because if for and this is for the listeners, if you haven't understood yet how the podcast works, is the first portion of the podcast is mostly personal, emotional, about someone's life. The second portion is what they're doing right now, and the third portion are the general topic questions. And my question for you is more about AI, because you are, I would call you an expert there because you have studied and you have the background in AI. How far are we from AGI and or the superintelligence, and how our lives are going to change? Are we just going to go in the beach and have drinks, and AI is going to do everything for us?
This is one of my favorite questions ever, because A, the opinions range so much, and B, I've been exposed to both sides of the spectrum. I was in Brussels last summer for a fellowship program where we worked on the AI Act to restrict AI in the EU and make it as safe as possible. But then I also am like very, AI loving, so to speak, and believe in the capabilities of the teams we have here in the Bay. So I'm kind of torn in between worlds. I don't think I'm qualified to comment on the timeline question. I think it's a question of how we define AGI, and I think this is like a discussion in of itself. But
You need an episode only for that.
yeah, I think I'd love to talk about the world that I would want to be living in.
Sure.
I think that there's a world, and yes, we could, or like a large part of the population would receive a universal basic income and could choose to, as you say, lay on the beach. I think there's still going to be a subset of highly ambitious people who are more than ever going to be able to work on world-changing ideas, and are probably going to redefine what living together means. And I think in the Western world, that means building new cities, building campuses. There are a few initiatives like, Adam Newman with Flow, or people in Australia with StartMate, who want to build new cities. They are seeing California, there's California Forever, a new urban project, which I think is going to become highly relevant. And you might wonder, okay, Julius, why are you connecting building cities with a post-AGI world? The reason for this is that in a post-AGI world, the limited resources are quite particular and quite different from what they are right now. And one thing that's not going to change is land, right? even with compute becoming marginally cheap, like land is going to matter. Of course, there's an argument to be made that with virtual reality, it doesn't really matter where you are. You can connect from everywhere. But I don't think that the real life experience is going to be matched. And then I think two more things which are going to matter are trust. So I think more than ever, building out the human component matters, both for institutions and individuals. And then just capital that you have, right? So I think the limited resources in a post-AGI world will be capital, trust, and land. So if you can equip yourself with these resources for now, you're going to do very, very well in that period. And yeah, you can lay on the beach, but the most ambitious people we're building.
Very, very fascinating. So my last question for today, Julius, is I know it went by fast. I would love to talk more, but maybe we can have you for a second part. Uh, my last question for today is, what is your advice for this AI entrepreneurs? Because I don't like too much the term AI entrepreneur, because you have to be a founder first. You have to find the problem and then decide if you want to put AI into it. But what is the advice for AI entrepreneurs, but also for the new longevity founders that want to build a company in today's world?
I think in both industries, we're at a stage at which it gets harder and harder to have a sustainable business case without some really unique insights and expertise in a certain space and field. And I'm not saying that like a group of college freshmen can't revolutionize longevity through an AI health coach, for example. This can happen. And in fact, we have a team in our incubator right now doing that. I'm just saying it's hard, but it's easier than ever to bootstrap. So I almost want to say people see VC money and raising money, especially in the Bay and especially with Y Combinator, taking on more and more founders to be the end goal. But I think it's a necessary vehicle if you want to scale it to $1 billion company in most cases. But I would use, especially as a student, the time that you have to tinker as much as possible, and then make the very decisive step to drop out and go all in once it makes sense for you, right? So this is the advice I have. But the other piece of advice is, and it's kind of contradictory, don't follow prescriptions from the outside. There's like no real step. You don't have to drop out to build a company. You don't have to raise VC money to build a company. Do what works in your given circumstances, and don't follow prescriptions, right? Only because the scale AI founders did A, you don't have to do A.
Of course, I agree with that. And I tell it to all of my friends who want to start companies. You don't, if we had a startup playbook, everybody would be successful. But that's the thing,
Yeah.
right? What works for someone doesn't work for the other person, right? Julius, last portion of the episode is for you to tell a quote, your favorite quote, something that you love, for people that maybe even listen to the podcast or the episode, and they would say, you know what, this is what the episode was about. So please enlighten us with your quote.
Thank you. I started revisiting Naval Ravikant's How to Generate Wealth posts from 2018. I was scrolling through the feed, and I care a lot about decision making and how to make good decisions in life. And he advises people to think a lot about where you work from and what you work on, which is much more important than how hard you work. And he advises people to basically spend sometimes a year to make these decisions where you're going to work from, which are going to define down the line the next 8 to 10 years of your life. So the quote is, spend more time thinking about what to work on, who to work with, also important, and where to work out of than anything else. And because I'm going through these steps myself. So don't be afraid to take long for important decisions.
Amazing. So, with the words of Naval, thank you so much, Julius, for being with us today. Thank you for all of you listening to us. And see you next episode 8 with Nancy Wang. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Luca. It was great being here.